We're here with the Naples Daily News Editorial Board and an interview with Amy Quaremba, who's running for District 1, one of 3 candidates for the race. Thank you for joining us, Amy.
Thank you for having me.
Can you tell us a little bit about how long you've lived in Bonita Springs?
Well, I've been a full-time resident in Bonita Springs in Pelican Landing, actually, since 2010. We actually were in Bonita Springs before that because we rented previously to that, and we started out in our rental experience with Florida, Marco Island, and just moved up the coast. We didn't look very seriously on the East Coast. We preferred the West Coast, so that's how we started out here. But we've been permanent residents since 2010.
And where did you come from, and what was your past history in terms of what you did?
Most recently, my husband Jim and I came from the Albany, New York area, where we had a home. My past experience was in various areas. If you're considering my educational experience, I have quite a varied experience there, including my final degree was a PhD in economics, but I have a BS degree in math and also an MA in economics. And as far as work is concerned, I have both public and private experience. My first job was with the National Security Agency in Washington, D.C. out of college, where I worked actually in a computer development area. So I wasn't a spy, but you know there were lots of people that worked in that area, and we probably went to lunch with them. But I also was a defense analyst after that, and I married after those 2 work experiences and moved to Atlanta with my husband and had 2 children, and where he was doing some training. Then we ended up going to Connecticut, where I raised my children. Unfortunately, my husband passed away very early at 44, so I was a single parent and had that experience of being the sole support of that family and having to balance that with work. In Connecticut, after I earned my PhD, I was an adjunct professor of economics at Trinity College. And then after I lost my husband, I needed something that paid a little bit better, so I became a securities broker, and my final career move was to co-found a successful investment advisory business. So I have a lot of different experiences. Most of them in technical areas, so I think I have a pretty good competency with numbers and financial kinds of things, and I'm used to, I understand business, I know how it works, both from the clients that we served and also from analyzing their companies, so I think I'm very strong in that area. I also think my personal experience is important because I come from an Italian immigrant family, and I had that whole American dream experience where we were raised to understand the importance of education and doing the best we can to improve ourselves. And that's kind of the way I think about Bonita, is that I think we can just do the best we can to make Bonita the very best community for us all to enjoy. And certainly we chose Bonita, so when we came here we thought it was pretty good. We still think it's pretty good. I mean, we think it's more than pretty good. We think it's very fine. And the council people who've come before me, I think have done quite a nice job of directing the vision here.
So why not take it easy now at this point? Why do you want to run for the city council?
Well, personally, I'm a high energy person, and I always, my history is always when I get involved with something, I start out kind of slow, and then I find that I get more and more involved and want to do things. There were specific things that happened in Bonita Springs recently. I've been working to understand and to oppose some of the things that have been happening in the annexation properties actually it's north of the district that I'm running from, that's the newly annexed people. And I have an objection to that, not only because of the concept, but also I think the process by which it was initiated through the annexation agreements are, I don't know what word I should use, but they're troublesome, let me put it that way. And having been involved with active citizens that wanted to know more about it and going through the zoning process and all that, we found it very difficult to get the information We were noticed very late, even though legally I know they sent the information to our community association members. But that whole thing made me think that it would be, I've always been an informed citizen trying to find out what's going on and trying to be aware of what's going on. But I found it very difficult. I don't know who was to blame for that, but I think that we can do better as a community and as citizens. So that's really what brought me in, because people had been asking me to run for the council, and I seriously thought, well, maybe I should just relax and practice my piano and have fun. And I still want to do that, and I have grandchildren which I want to do that. But I think there's time for a lot of things, and I know senior citizens that have become active in their communities have been very successful and very useful, and I hope that I could do the same.
What's your concern with the annexation issue? Where do you fear that it might lead Bonita Springs to be not as good as it might be?
Well, I am very supportive of the comprehensive plan and the vision that's been expressed in the past, long before I was here in 2010. And also the current review of it, that this is supposed to be a vibrant city with small town charm. And we can say, well, that's kind of an innocuous vision, but when you really think about it, it's very specific. And I subscribe to all kinds of processes which continues that vision. And I don't think that the will of the people, which I think was strongly reinforced by the recent EAR reports, which I followed, and I did read the draft, and in fact I did go to the LPA meeting, which some people were upset about recently after reviewing it because of some implications from the optional amendments. I was happy that that was not transmitted to the council out of the will of the LPA, but would possibly be analyzed in a workshop environment, which again, this fits in with what I'm thinking about. Let the people talk as much as they want, and we all interact, and we kind of duke it out in a verbal way, and whoever has the best argument should win in the end. I really subscribe to that. And I think about that when people inquire about development here. I think corporations, I don't think corporations are evil. I think they're doing the job they're supposed to do, and God knows we need them in our community because they help our revenues and they keep our city vibrant. So they're supposed to do their job, and the community's supposed to do our job, and then we figure out how we can reconcile those. If there are conflicting interests, we can reconcile them through dialogue. That's my approach that I would take on the council.
To what degree would you embrace any development in the DRGR?
Right now, I don't think we should have any development beyond what is allowed. I don't see any reason to do that. I think that the risk that development would damage or diminish our aquifers is just too high to consider. I know there's all kinds of water studies. I think somebody told me it was 14,000 pages. I haven't read it yet, but again, this is there's certain areas where I have some tangential knowledge, but my approach has always been with thoughtful research and going forward with that. But right now, from what I know from reading, it's not a good thing to do, and I would not support it.
Does Bonita Springs need a high school?
Definitely.
Where might it be best?
Well, I think that's really pretty much up to Lee County School Board. I know they're looking at least 2, maybe 3 areas. I have been reading all the information. There's certain criteria which should be considered. It was all been proposed and suggested by the Lee County School Boards, which is distance, walking distance, interaction with the community. So there's all kinds of things. So when you have, these are complex decisions. One thing that I think one of the meetings I was there, I don't remember who it was, it might have been Bill Lockhart, said he was sorry, or he wished that he could have all the alternatives on the table at once so they could put it side by side and really evaluate it. That probably would have been a good approach, but it was because of the circumstances, it probably is not possible. But we definitely need a high school. I grew up in a town that was about in northern New Jersey that was about the same population, but was definitely blue collar urban. So it was totally different, no gated communities, you know, no beautiful beaches or anything like that. But we had a high school in it, and I still have fond memories of that centerpiece to our, what I call a sense of place, and that's what I think I think we need that in Bonita. We're trying to do it in the downtown area, this sense of place, and I think that if you have an identity, and I think high school, what your young people do in their sports and their achievements, and the opportunity for people to interact either through tutoring or just sharing their knowledge with them, I think it's a great boon to a community. And I'm confident that they'll come up with a decision. It's not going to be perfect because there's going to be things wrong with all of them, but pretty much it'll accomplish this sense of place and meeting the needs of our young people. We're not all senior citizens. We have a responsibility to our young people, and I hope we can make it a more attractive place for them. It was interesting in the EAR report where they did the population projections. I mean, the biggest number group that's in growth in population is over 75. And I don't think, I mean, that's a national trend. We can't turn the population back, but we still have young people, thank goodness, and we still have people to address. So it's very, very important that we come up to a solution soon. And I hope that some of the concerns that if we don't do it soon, it's going to go somewhere else. I hope that's not true, because I really think we have to make it. I agree. Did you make that editorial where you said that they should make the decision and get over it? Like a few weeks ago or something? I agree with that.
What about in terms of what the council's doing downtown with the redevelopment project on Route 41?
I think it's really exciting, but we have to know that it's just basically the infrastructure. When I went to some of those citizens input meetings, you know, they have beautiful designs and everything, which, you know, is a vision for the future, and there's nothing wrong with having a vision for the future, because if you don't have a vision, you don't know where you're going, and I totally am in supportive of that. We have some wonderful in-place attributes that are, I think, unique to Bonita Springs, historic buildings, that area along the water, which is beautiful. The Riverside Park, they've done they've done that well. Having some of the city services down there, so it brings people. There's all kinds of things that have to get into place in order for that vision to work. So I would be very happy to and would support efforts to make that a successful place to live, work, and play. But it's a long-term project, and when we were given the opportunity to, this is somewhat off point, but it isn't, on the Bonita Beach visioning study with the Toll Design Group, and I asked the fellow that I spoke with, I said, well, if I get on the council, what can I do if you have this vision that we all subscribe to? What can a council person do in order to effectuate that? And they basically said, I said, do we have to get funding? You know, do we have to, what is it we can do? And he said, the most important thing that a council person could do is, first of all, embrace the vision and stick to it. And I think that is applicable to what we're having to do downtown. The council has previously, the past councils have embraced that vision. And any council person that gets in place, I think, has to get on board, which I think, at least I'm on board with that, and to be certain that the myriad of decisions that go forward, that they enhance that vision. It doesn't just happen in a week, it doesn't happen in a month, it's going to happen years from now. But every little tiny decision will affect whether that vision is what we want it to be. That's definitely what I would be I want to be a part of. It's pretty exciting, I think.
Tell Bonita voters why you over the other two that are in the race.
Well, I thought about that a lot, and this is difficult for me. It's a difficult question for me because I'm not a politician. I've never run for office, though I've always worked for politicians and tried to get them to tell us voters why they should choose them. But all I know is what's inside me. I know my experience. I'm a strong lady. I've gone through good times and bad times. I know the importance of budgeting I know the importance of creating an environment, a community where people can be successful, both people who have been successful themselves, those people that are struggling to get ahead. So I have that diversity. I think my educational experience are very appropriate. Not many people have advanced degrees in economics, not that it's necessary to run for the council, but when you have those degrees and work in an economic environment, there's a certain way of thinking and analyzing. There's an analytic process that's really important. It certainly starts with exhaustive research, and the whole process in economic analysis is one of balancing alternatives and trying to reach the highest satisfaction for all the stakeholders involved. So that's a way of thinking and training that I think would be important for the council. And I think I work well with people. I have a community. I've had it in my community here in Bonita Springs. I'm president of my condo board, so if anybody's done that, you know it's not an easy position to be in. I've worked in various committees in Pelican Landing, where I do live, and I also am involved in I think a pretty exciting charitable organization, which is relatively new. I don't know if you know, it's the Women's Giving Circle of Southwest Florida. It was recently featured in Bella magazine. It's only a few years old, and I am a co-chairperson of the Grants Committee. So I'm learning a lot of smaller institutions that need help, including those in Bonita Springs, and it's been enlightening. And again, it's helped me to see different parts of Bonita Springs in Florida. So I bring a variety of experiences, and I'm not saying that the council doesn't have it now, but I think I have a pretty powerful background. The only thing I don't have is I've never been a politician. I don't know if that's good or bad, but maybe in today's environment that's good. And I very, very, very much want to have people have input. I've been on the other side, and I haven't been far enough away from that to think that I know better than anybody else. So that's about it. I can't think of anything else.
Okay.
Is there, or will there be room for affordable housing in Bonita Springs? Once the downtown vision, so to speak, is complete, where would the stock of affordable housing be?
Well, I think you'd have to look in the comprehensive plan where we have allocations for residential things. I think the most likely place would be in the downtown area, because you would allow for people to participate in the community activities without having to get in their car or, affordable housing in a more urban situation, I think, is the best place for it. And then the individual communities, like, I wouldn't say it's affordable housing in some of the gated communities, but they have a mix of. One of the things that attracted us is that there is a mix of housing. In Bonita Springs, we have multifamily homes, we have duplexes, we have single-family homes, we have high-rises, we have a lot of things in there. But I do think our workers need to be addressed, because as we go forward and you go towards build-out, which they're looking, I think, towards 2040, that crunch on when you have a restriction on the supply of housing, naturally the prices are going up. So even if today they might be able to find some affordable housing, they may not be able to find it in the future. So it's a consideration. But some of the density bonuses that have been agreed to with ordinance changes, I think will lead us to have that kind of situation. But it's one specific area versus another, I don't really think I can tell you other than the downtown area.
Where do you start to address transportation needs in the city?
Well, we have a couple of studies that are going on. Certainly this idea of a multimedia transportation network with biking and walking and buses. There are some reports that we have had and we're going to have in the future, so we have to integrate it. And I do think everybody is concerned about when you go to those public hearings. They all say, "I hate the traffic," and I've been doing some door to door, and they all say, don't let anything else come in here. I can't even get down the street now, but I don't think that's, well, wouldn't subscribe to that at all, but residents do say that. So I do think really what the solution is to look at the bottlenecks, and I think the visioning study along Bonita Beach Road, because everybody complains about Bonita Beach Road and 41, and having gone to it. When I'm elected, if I have to go to the council meetings, I don't want to have to wait through four lights to make the left-hand turn since I come from the north. So, and I just spoke with someone in San Carlos Park who has to drive down to Naples every day, and he was just, irate about the fact that he can't get down south. So that is a bottleneck, and I know that when the toll design report comes out, it'll be really interesting to see how they handle it. I know one of the things is to try to have some secondary bypass roads so that not everybody has to make the right-hand turn and not everybody has to make the left-hand turn, or they can make it in a different way. But whether that's part of their design, I don't know, because I'm not an expert in transportation. And I do think, and let me just talk, because there's some controversy about the roundabouts on Old 41, because people are not used to them. And all I can relate is that in my community of Slingerlands, New York, where just recently to before we left there, they put in, I think, 4 roundabouts very close to our house. And when the State Department of Transportation put them in, well, the community was totally upset. How are we going to drive? We're all old, the whole story. But they went in, and I have to say, I really liked them. I wasn't really on board, but I wasn't totally negative, and I didn't really speak to it one way or the other, because I thought, well, they must know something that I don't know, and it worked very well in that community. Now, whether the Old 41 roundabouts are going to work, I'm optimistic they will, and my message to voters is that give it a chance, and it's better to go around a circle than to stop for a red light. That's what I found personally, and I hope that the community feels the same way. Because most people don't object to moving slowly as long as they're moving. They object to stopping. And they certainly object to stopping at a light for 3 times. That is annoying personally. So.
You mentioned the Bonita Beach Road 41 intersection. There was a proposal at one point to put an overpass there. Mm-hmm. What do you think of that?
Well, what I think it's important that that we wait for this visioning study. I was not really that in tune to the quasi flyover study. That I don't even know if it was a study. I think it was the Federal Department of Transportation that was looking at it. I just talked to somebody again yesterday who was he felt that it was really a shame that we didn't have the flyover, and they pointed to the Golden Gate area where they put a flyover. But when I think of a flyover, I look up at Fort Myers and what it's done to that community. Again, I really want to wait for the experts to tell me, but my intuitive feeling is that I'm not sure that's in keeping with vibrant city with small town charm. I think a lot depends on the detail, like all these things. I think that's an important gateway into our community, and I think I would think very carefully about considering that, but I guess I would lean more towards the negative there.
Got about a minute and a half left here. What is it that we haven't covered that is important to your campaign?
I think the only thing that's important to my campaign is get my name out, because I find that really, really difficult. The District 1 is really interesting. It's from the Gulf, where we have Lover's Key State Park, and through Pelican Landing, where I live. Thank God I live there, because it's a relatively large gated community. But then we have a bunch of other gated communities which are really essentially inaccessible. We have San Carlos Park, which is you can get into, but the lots are so big and you have to go walk down long driveways, which I don't think is too good, not a sensible way to do it. And you have like Citrus Park, it's impossible. So I think it's really hard to get your name out unless you've had some public presence. So the most important thing to my campaign is to have people look at my website where they have a lot of these things that I've talked about. If people want to be an informed voter, then they can make their decision. I'm confident that I come up pretty well compared to the other candidates. I didn't know these candidates personally, but I've met them since I started the campaign, and they're nice people. I'm sure that that they have that they probably love Bonita Springs and are trying to do a good job too. Right now, I think I'm the best candidate, and I wish people could look at my background and give me a chance. And I'm confident that they'll make the vote, which I think they should be, which is to vote for me. Okay.
Thank you, Amy.